Okay, folks, happy whatever the hell day it is today. Monday, I think? Something like that. And there he is, Nordic. What's happening, man? Oh, we need to adjust this. This is kind of like a limp noodle. Not a fan of limp noodles. Okay, so here's my artillery park. Although artillery seems to seem, I think of artillery, I think of like, stuff that only fires HE and fires indirectly. None of this stuff will be firing indirectly for sure. This is way too close range of a game for indirect fire. So we've got all these assembled, and yeah, I don't know why I decided not to assemble them completely the other day, but make something to eat. The streaming, thought I'd pop in for a few before making food. It's too late to be eating, man. You need to eat earlier than this. So we've got a 45 millimeter gun, L46. L46. We have the same chassis, but this is the 1943 version 76 millimeter gun. Infantry gun, I should say. This is the early war infantry gun. Very, very short. This is the long-barreled 45. I believe it's a 45 millimeter L66, I think. Came out in sometime in 1942. Crash booms, 3 of them. 76.2 millimeter L39s. And the long bastard, the 57 millimeter, which I don't remember what caliber is. It's something absurd. Look at the length of that thing. It's just crazy. 37 millimeter anti-aircraft gun, and the 85 millimeter anti-aircraft gun that eventually the T-34-85's gun was based on. So we're just going to set these guys in here. Luckily, they don't weigh anything. Move them off the table. And what are we going to do? I guess we'll look at the crews. I guess we'll put some of the crews together. So let's look at the 45 millimeter anti-tank gun crews. Only late to people who rise before the ass crack of dawn. That's right. I went to bed last night. I can share my insomnia tales with you, so I figured you would understand. I went to sleep about before 10. At 11:45, I was wide awake. I needed to supposedly go to the bathroom, which ended up not really being anything. And then I stayed asleep, so it was actually pretty good. Usually I've been getting up about somewhere between 2:30 to 4 o'clock in the morning, and well before the alarm, and felt like I gotta go number 2, but I don't. Understand sleep problems, wish I didn't. Yeah. So, gun crews. Of course, there's no instructions on any of these. 1, 2. Oh, is there just 2 sprues? How are we going to go about this? Haphazardly. Why would I do it any other way? Yeah, let's take one of these sprues and start messing with some stuff here. And we're going to glue these guys on pennies, because it's probably what I should do is paint a couple of 45 millimeter anti-tank guns, but who knows. Some nice Mosin Nagants also. Let's start off with this guy right here. We're going to build them one at a time. And this guy has a choice of he's got a hand here, and he has a choice of heads. We can either do one with a helmet or we can do one with a cap. Let's do the one with a cap. They were a fan of cap guys, and there's a lot of options here to make them slightly different from each other, so they don't all look the same. I used to have that problem too. Used to call them false goes. Really annoyed the hell out of me. Well, you know, it might be this new injection that I'm on, although it should be wearing off. It's supposed to be an injection that I only get once a month. My skin is, I don't know that it's a lot better. My skin wasn't really that bad to begin with, but it started off giving me headaches. I don't have the headaches anymore. I'd pretty much rather like anything other than headaches. So a little bit of insomnia is not that big of a deal. You know. Okay, this guy's got like a little knapsack thingy on the back. I'd wake up to urinate and then go back to bed and immediately feel like I had to bomb the ocean. And then when I'd go, I couldn't. That would tick me off. Yeah, I don't know about bomb the ocean, but I was kind of uncomfortable. You know, that's the thing about, I love bathroom humor comedy because it's stuff we've all gone through, you know? So, anyways, the other day, I don't know if you were on here or not, Nordic, or you had already gone to bed. I think it was on Sunday. I was talking about the other manufacturers on 700 scale that used to make stuff. I said Sky this, Sky that. Skywave. Skywave is who it was. They used to have Aoshima, Skywave, Hasegawa, Fujimi. All those used to make a bunch of ships. Back in the early 90s, there was this hobby store in Jacksonville we used to go to. And they always had a bunch of those kits. And unlike tanks, these Japanese guys were really proud of their navy. So they had a bunch of Japanese ships. And I'm not a fan of the Japanese ships. I mean, some of them look kind of cool, but everybody loves them for those long lance torpedoes. But other than that, you know, they lack armor and I mean, we're not talking about Yamato, but their heavy cruisers lack armor in places that either the Germans, the French, Italians, or Germans, French, Italians, and the Americans. Those four generally have a pretty good armor layout on all their ships. If we're talking about cruisers, British have huge deficiencies. They'll have stuff like, you know, they won't have any turret armor. Well, that's a problem because if you take a shell hit and it goes into the turret, there's nothing good that can happen by taking an exploding shell in a turret. It can be anywhere between, you know, the turret crew gets knocked out to you got a magazine explosion. So yeah, that's kind of a problem. And the Japanese ships also were not well armored everywhere. I think just about everybody's cruisers have belt armor. So you get lack of conning tower or subpar turret armor. That's usually where the problem becomes. But yeah, they made a bunch of Japanese ships. And a few other things. I remember taking a look at those when I was a young lad, because at that time I was really into the ship stuff. But the only thing I ever got was Scharnhorst. I mean, obviously I had the old Airfix kids when I was a kid, but you know, I had Scharnhorst and Rodney. That was it. That was the only two. Of course, the first one I got was the Bismarck. I got that one, the old Airfix Bismarck kit. MPC. All right, let's glue this guy's noggin on. Heard in the news they found Lady Lex. They found Lady Lex at the bottom of the ocean. My favorite U.S. aircraft carrier. It's one of those that were going to make it into a battleship with a battle cruiser with 8 16-inch guns, and she cranked at 34 knots. But she was going to have those cage masks. Those cage masks are ugly as shit. Sorry. She turned out pretty well by the time she was done as an aircraft carrier. All right, well, he's done. So we have an extra helmet. We're going to have extra helmets, that's for sure. And this is why somebody was asking me. I think you were asking me. I need to hurry up and base these. I will not be basing the guns. And then somebody was asking why I wasn't going to base the guns. Well, because I'm going to base the figures. So if I put the gun on a base, now you have it 2 bases. And it's just going to look weird. And it's not going to allow you to put the gun in places that you would normally be able to put the gun in. So, remember, I'm playing a skirmish game. I'm not playing I'm not playing rapid fire or something like that with this, where it needs to look like representing, 5 guns or something like that. That's not what this is. This is what you see is what you get. So, you got to base infantry individually because you got to mark off casualties. Sometimes they're going to be pushing the gun where it needs to go. That's going to be fun. But that's just part of the objectives. Okay, this guy only comes with one option for a helmet and a head, and it is with a cap, but that doesn't mean we can't switch it out with a different one. So when we have this same pose on the other sprue, we can give him a different head. And of course, all these guys will be individually named. Last names, of course. But these are hard plastic, so they should hold paint pretty well. It's the soft ones that things can go really sideways on them. This guy looks like he's pushing a shell in. We can add a shell in there later when we realize what he's going to be for. Because this is 2 versions of the 45mm gun and a 76. So we don't want to use this guy for the 76 when he's got a 45mm shell casing. Or shell, really. Okay, another one done. This guy only comes with an option for a helmet. Not that we couldn't switch it out with a different guy, but we could build the first one as intended. And when it comes in 2 halves. Bomb the ocean. Haven't heard that one before, but I know what you mean. We've all been there. Oh, we almost cut ourselves. It's always the tip. Hokey pokey. Surprised it hasn't happened more often. I get tunnel visions when I got these glasses on. I wonder how bad you have to cut yourself for YouTube to say, nope, none of that on the feed. Maybe it's all the way up to and including suicide. That's why there's actually some kind of a delay. I bet there's, I think it's like a 30-second delay or something like that. So, the people behind the scenes of YouTube can shut down your feed if you decide to put your whole head in front of a shotgun or something stupid like that. That has happened before. So I've heard. I think there was a video. No, it was on TV where some guy shot himself or something like that. Some senator or something like that. Some politician. Whoops. Well, now we're like less than 2 weeks away to the show. I looked at the game list and there's just nothing I want to play. I don't have to bring anything. I don't have to set anything up. I don't have to worry about my stuff walking off. Okay, next. This guy only has an option. Oh, maybe it's the same 4 figures repeated. Is this part of the sprue the same as the other one? Yeah, it is. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll build these guys as intended. And then we'll switch the heads around on the next set. Two viewers. Well, it's up to you guys if we have a successful session. If we can keep each other awake. Not very much flash on these things. I'm not sure if the flash is the same on white metal figures. On white metal figures, it's if the molds are worn out. I'm not sure if the same reason as the flash on these. Because the mold, pretty sure it's made of metal for these figures. And you're injecting plastic in it, so it should be pretty resistant to things happening to them. Not wear out that easily. Okay, this guy's pointy. Look at those fascists coming over. Look at the fascists coming over to the hill, comrade. Okay, we got one head left. It's a helmeted one. Let me check on one thing. Okay. Back again. Let's see. We got a head to put on here. this is interesting. Doesn't even look like it fits on here properly. I guess it's going to be a slow night tonight. Yeah, these figures are weird in that they got long ass necks. Let's take some of it off. See how he fits on here. It's almost like it doesn't even sit on here at the right angle. Let's do this. Now let's try it. There we go. That's much better. Much, much better. Oh, we don't need to touch it once it's in place. Okay, he's good. Let's put him all the way out of the way so he doesn't get tampered with. Now let's take a look at these guys. Let's take some of this neck off. Okay, these aren't bad figures, but you got to trim the neck off. It's got too much of a... Okay, that's much better. Now let's take a look at this guy again. This guy's got a little bit of a neck. He's not too bad. We'll leave him be. And then this guy is... Yeah, he's definitely... There you go. That's much better. We got to take some of their neck off. Well, I guess it's better for them to have a long neck that you have to trim off than them not have enough of a neck and they got a different type of an issue. So, okay. These figures actually look a lot better now that they've been modified that way than I was originally thinking. All right. Well, we're not going to mess with them today. We want to make sure that they're weld cemented nicely. Okay. So that is the 4 figures that come in here. These 4 guys. And if there's any kind of head option changes, I'm going to do it on the next one so they don't look exactly the same, because there are 4 sets of these. So like for instance, this particular guy here, we ended up going with a cap here. So this one's going to have a helmet. Okay, so I'm going to take that one. He's going to have the helmet. Yeah, I'm just going to start off by, let's just take some of his neck off. Still got too much of a neck. Yeah, much better. Much, much better. These guys, of course, will be on pennies. And this is the same figure with the 2 different heads. Okay, this is the guy pointing, which we found out his head choice is going to be this guy screaming, because the other one's helmeted. This is the crew chief, so to speak. The gun crew chief, the NCO. It'll be a bit longer than I thought. Grab the phone. I know you're doing the cooking. Are the other people doing the cleanup still? Is there nobody cleaning up the house? We got our house more picked up than we've ever had it picked up, and we really like it. So, and now there's just two of us, so we're doing a pretty good job of staying on top of it. Did the math, and the genre of model building I've done the most is naval models. Is that right? Well, we never talked about it. You're always talking about tanks and stuff. That's cool. I like me some ships. You don't cook for others. I do my cooking and cleaning. Oh, I was thinking you told me that you were cooking for everybody, but then they did the cleanup, and you liked that setup. Maybe I misunderstood. Cooking for others can be a problem, especially since there's a lot of people out there that are super picky. You know, I'm not a particularly picky eater. I mean, as long as you're not making me eat fucking ketchup, we're pretty good. And I'm not even gonna eat organ meat or any of them messed up British puddings. Oregon pudding meat. Other than that, I'm okay. I'm not eating the bugs. You know, we're talking normal stuff. You'll try to tell me more than your tanks and planes. Okay. I like me some ships. So, anyways, I don't know if you caught the other day that I was talking about Scharnhorst. And one thing that people don't realize about Scharnhorst is she had, in some places, more armor than Bismarck. I want to say she had better belt armor than Bismarck. The weak point on Scharnhorst's armor scheme was her deck. She had pretty light deck armor. So if she's engaging somebody that has, 15-inch guns or something like that, and they put a round at long range through the deck, there's going to be a problem. But she basically had battleship armor, the same armor layout as a battleship. She just had the lighter guns. They were lighter, but they were faster firing. They had a hellacious range. Eating ketchup, who will like it? Absolutely not. I ain't eating ketchup. I'm going to send somebody over there to rape you, and I'm not going to let them, you're not going to pick the hole. I do not play around with ketchup. I like communists more than ketchup. Communists smell better. I know that's hard to believe, but I fucking hate that shit. The cocktail sauce I love. It's just ketchup. Deck armor seemed to be a problem for a lot of ships. Take the hood. I don't know that the hood had really bad deck armor. Scharnhorst only has about 2.5 inches. Bismarck has like 5 and change. Let's put it up. Let's pull up one of the most valuable books that I have. I have all 3 of these. Conway's All the World's Fighting Ships. And back when I used to play Sea Creek 4, I would go to the University of Florida Library and I spot checked to make sure that all their armor factors were correct. And I found some discrepancies. And of course, I used these numbers. And of course, this is much better than Jane's because Jane's was done basically at the time, contemporary. And this is, done in the 80s, 1980s. So. Scharnhorst, huh? Well, the Germans are back in. They're basically in the order of the more ships they have, which the Estonian Navy, Latvia. Germans are back here. Soviet Union, they're probably just before the Soviet Union. Italy. Why are they ahead of France? They didn't have Commerce Raiders are here. Okay, so Scharnhorst. And Scharnhorst looked like crap when he had the bow that didn't have the Atlantic bow. Let's see. Belt, 13 3/4 inches. I bet that's more than Bismarck. Yeah. Bismarck had 12.5 inch belt armor. Better deck armor than Bismarck. Now I don't. That's assuming that it covered an equivalent length. It could have been like, oh, you got like 18 inches, but it's only like from here to here. That's not going to do you any good. You know, it's not going to do you any good if it only covers a tiny little area on the actual ship. If it only goes this center section here, but assuming it hasn't, and normally belt armor covers anywhere from the barbettes down. So anything from the barbettes down at least is covered in the main belt armor, because otherwise, if you've got thin armor underneath here, under your turrets, a hit there can get put into the operating mechanism. And yes, you can still buy these books. Yep, I got them from Naval Institute Press, and they were about $60 a piece in the mid 90s. So I have no idea how much they are now. But anyway, she's got 13 3/4 belt armor, deck 2 inches, armored deck 3. Okay, so the most armor is you got 3. Armored deck on the Bismarck is 4 3/4. That's not that much. I bet King George V class has more than that. And they have a lot of weaknesses too, but they got better deck armor. Main turrets, 14 inches. That's pretty significant considering main turrets 14 1/4. Okay, so Bismarck got more armor than Scharnhorst on the main turrets, but not on the belt. Secondary turrets 5.5. Secondary turrets 4. So there's better armor on the Scharnhorst on the turrets than there are on the secondary turrets than on the secondary turrets of the Bismarck. Conning tower 14 inches on Bismarck, 13 3/4 on conning tower. So they have pretty similar armor arrangement. In some places the Bismarck has more, and some the Scharnhorst has more. So that's pretty respectable for, oh, it's just a battle cruiser. Oh, it's only got 11-inch guns, What's insane about this ship, the Scharnhorst, is, and I don't actually have the book. There's a book called Naval Weapons of World War II or something like that. And literally, and they had that at the University of Florida Library as well. And there it lists every gun and what shells are manufactured for each. Because Sea Creek 4 allowed you to fire any kind of shell type. You just had to write which one it was. But there's some ships that certain shell types weren't made for. Like if you've got 8-inch gun County class cruisers in the British Navy, which they had a whole shitload of them with 8-inch guns, they only had semi-armor piercing or high explosive. I think just about every shell has high explosive for it. There's a few exceptions. I'm talking like maybe 2. Just about everything is made in HE. But the 8-inch guns for the British cruisers had a semi-armor piercing. The 6-inch guns for the British cruisers only had common in HE. So common doesn't penetrate very much. Anyhow, you want me to check the hood? All right, let's check the hood. Hood actually may not be in here because this goes 22 to 46, and I believe Hood was born in 1920. But I can go and look at the earlier version, which is the World War I book. Look at this seaplane carrier, the Chitos. Pretty nice streamlined lines on it. Okay, we're going to check the hood. Brits are all the way at the beginning because they have the biggest navy in 1922. That's why they're all the way here at the beginning. I don't believe I'm going to find Hood, but I'm going to check the armor. Oh, here she is. Here she is. Hood was never reconstructed. It doesn't talk about the whole thing here because it still had most of the stuff in the other book, but let's see if it says the armor here. Hood was never reconstructed. Modifications were largely confined to the AA armament. The 4-inch Mark V AA guns were increased to 6 in December 1937 and 8 in June 1938, when two 5.5 inches were removed. Originally, the hood had a bunch of 5.5 inch guns on it, and they were eventually removed. And in World War II, she had only 15-inch guns or 4-inch guns. There was nothing in between there. Kind of like the first round of battle cruisers that that came out that basically had nothing in the middle, way back when. So they removed all the 5.5-inch guns. Finally, in April, this is April of 1939, all the 5.5s were removed, and 6 4-inch Mark 16 3x2s were added. During the 29-31 refit, 2 8-barrel pom-poms were mounted, a catapult added, which was removed in June 1932, and oil fuel increased to 4,615 tons. A third 8-barrel pom-pom was added in December 37, and 2 submerged torpedo tubes removed. Yeah, Hood had torpedo tubes mounted amidships, I believe. While the 5 UP rocket projectors were mounted in May 1940, deep load displacement now 48,360 tons. Hood was blown up by one or more 15-inch shells from Bismarck. All right, let's look at the armor layout on the earlier World War I version of Conway's, because it's probably the most modern ship, just about the most modern ship in this one, which is the earlier version of it. Great Britain should be all the way at the beginning, and big ships at the beginning. Hood. Belt 12 inches. Bismarck only has a little bit more. Bulkheads 5-inch. Barbettes 12s, pretty respected. Turret faces 15-inch, that's pretty darn good. Conning tower 11. Decks 3-inch. There it is. There's the deck. There's the deck issue. But she still has just as much deck armor as Sean was. Now, let me look at King George V. King George V. Vanguard. I hated Vanguard. Other than it didn't go into action, it's completed in like 45 or 46 or something like that. Completed in 46 and has the old 15-inch guns from like Warspite and shit like that. Nah, we've moved on from that. They didn't even put 8 16-inch guns on it. They put 15s. Like, no. King George V. Doesn't say on the deck. How strange. Belt 15. So she's got better belt armor than Bismarck. I'm not surprised there. Bulkheads 12 inches, 12 to 4 inches. That's a lot. Barbettes 13. Turrets 13, conning tower. Here's the problem: when you're playing a naval game with a King George V class, 4.5-inch conning tower. How come it doesn't talk about the deck armor? I want to say it's around like 5 or 6 inches. The main deck had 6-inch armor over the magazines and 5-inch everywhere else. Okay. Yeah, these books are awesome. These books are awesome. I got them to fact check all the stuff in the game. The game got most of the stuff right. But one of the huge deficiencies, and I do really like the British ships a lot. And the fact that they have weaknesses makes them even more enjoyable. But if you look at all these county class cruisers, like the Kent class and stuff like that, they have what they call box protection to ammunition spaces, and that's about it. They don't have any turret arm. They could have some really bad things happen to them. But their purpose, and of course we're talking about the three stacker British type cruisers, heavy cruisers, that were all built in the 1920s. Their big thing was range. They had an incredible range because they needed to be all over the frickin', the British Empire was everywhere. So they needed to be able to go places. So, Anyhow. Okay. Back to World War II and land warfare. So yeah, I'm a naval junkie. That's the first thing I really got into. Yeah, so I got all three convoys, and I got Janes from World War I and World War II. The Janes are about worthless compared to the convoys. Stupid phone lost connection right after you went to the hood. Back now. Hood had 3 inches of deck armor. And a little bit less armor than Bismarck, but not that much. Okay, next guy. This is a two-piece dude right here. Okay, we built this guy with this head, and we built this guy with this head. So let's flip them. We're going to put this head on this figure and this one over here. And that way we have a little bit of variety. We're probably going to have to trim the neck anyways. How accurate is Sea Krieg 4 charts? So Sea Krieg 4, by the time it came out in the early 80s. And around 1985, they came out with a supplement to it that was, I don't want to go look for it right now. I have it. I mean, that's all we used to play. And I mean, I know that game backwards and forwards. Still do. It's pretty freaking simple. It makes a lot of sense the way it flows. The only thing it takes a while to figure out is the torpedo shots. But I think pretty much any game that takes a while to do the torpedo shots. It's not too bad. It's just, that's really the time-consuming part. But hell, we used aircraft and all kinds of shit like that. But we used that for many, many years. That's all we played from like 1986 until about 1995. Was, you know, we didn't get together every week. We did at the beginning, and then everybody moved away. But in 1985, they came out with a World War II data book for all just the World War II ships, and it includes all of like the modifications throughout the war and stuff. So that's pretty accurate. There is an option in the rules to, depending on the armor quality of the nation, you could actually bump the armor up or down a little bit. And I went through and highlighted all those. I wrote them all in pencil on my copy. So, you know, I don't remember exactly what it is, but say if the German quality of the armor is 1.1, I took all those armors, multiplied it by 1.1, and wrote down next to it what it is, and then you use that number. But we used that for many years. You know, I think it works fine as a system. What could Sea Krieg 4 do as a game? It's best served for small engagements, medium ones, or large ones. What about convoy attacks? Well, you can forget submarines because it just doesn't do that well at all. It depends on how much time you have to play the game. If you have 4 hours to play the game, you're probably only going to be able to do something like River Plate, the Bismarck hood thing. It won't take 4 hours, but you can get that done. I played one game for 26 hours straight of Sea Krieg 4. We played on the floor, but we were range estimating. So the problem with range estimating is you burn your fucking head, okay? And you know, you guess the range, and if you get close, you can either automatically get a hit or roll for the hits that are close. So you end up doing a lot of effort, and you still have to roll. The problem with that is I don't think it's a good representation, because for playing a lot of games of range estimating, there's if once you get under a foot, it's easy to figure it out. And once you get at long range, it doesn't really make a difference. But there's like between a foot and 2 feet, things can vary a lot. And it's so it kind of skews the whole chance to hit based on you estimating correctly, and it makes it look like at long range the guns are more accurate than say at middle short. So I would not recommend doing range estimating. If you're not doing range estimating, I think the game works okay. You know, what they changed in the Sea Creek 5 model is the damage model is a little different. Here it's basically is your tonnage times, I believe it's 0.033 is how many damage points the thing has. So most destroyers have somewhere between 50 and 70 damage points, and something like Scharnhorst would have like 1,200. So in Sea Creek 5, the smaller ships have a higher percentage of damage than the larger ones do. So it wouldn't be 50 to 1,200. It would be, if the little ships have 50, the big ships would have like 350. And I think it's actually the smaller ships are bumped up more than 50. Just to kind of... and I haven't played Sea Creek 5 much, but because they do play it all the time at our convention. And there's a lot of games of it going on. I just don't want to play a game that's not going to finish. I don't have a problem playing an 8-hour long game, but I don't want to play a 4-hour one that only gets a third of the way through or a quarter of the way through. I didn't show up to not finish games, so I'd rather just not play. But we played a lot of games of Sea Creek 4, a lot. And not compared to DBA, but a lot. And we were pretty happy with it. And the only reason that game takes a while is how long it takes to calculate whether or not you hit the ship or not. And it would be me, because I'd run all the games, it would be me doing all the freaking math, which it's just time consuming. None of it's difficult, and I could probably run a game of it almost as well as I could back then, because I just played it too many times, and it's like nothing else. I literally had the rule book laid out, left to right. Like, okay, first it's your chance to hit. All right, roll on. Then it's your roll on the table. How many hits? And the next one is hit locations. Then, do you penetrate the hit locations? If you do, you have, it does this amount of damage and has this kind of chance to get a critical. If you don't, it does this kind of damage and has this kind of chance to get a non-penetrating critical. So it all makes sense, and and it's a percentile game, which is my preference. My preference is to play games that use two D10s, or I guess a 100-sided die. But sometimes you need to get all up in there and find out exactly what number show them. We always use 2 10s. So played it a lot. I was pretty happy with it. I have no doubt that Sea Creek 5 is better. I have no experience running it, and I've only played it probably maybe half dozen times. Wonder how good the GHQ World War II Navy rules. Ever play them? I did. I played them at a convention, and my personal opinion, every rule set other than Sea Creek just doesn't do it for me. I'm a Sea Creek guy. I've got the Command and Sea series that's done by, I believe, Larry Bond. And there's some great scenario books for it. I've got several of them in the Mediterranean. But their armor values are 2. You have a horizontal and a vertical armor value on every ship. I'm sorry. I grew up with those big table, with the coffee table books that had all the different, I want to know if it hits the deck or the barbette or the belt or the conning tower, not like you hit vertical or horizontal. It's like, it's too vague for me, The GHQ Navy one, they take just as long to do, and they don't have the same amount of detail. Nothing I have seen has the Sea Creek level of detail. So, and some people just want to play, a vague type of thing. But I'm telling you, if it's one of the things that I am really adamant about, either, World War II, I may be able to play a vague World War II game that involves aircraft. But if it's ships or if it's tanks, dude, I'm a rivet counter, tread head to the max, you know. But that's just me, you know. We had a lot of different people that played Sea Creek, and they were all pretty much happy with it back in the day. So, sea power, use factors. F that. A ship has 12 attack No, that's not for me. That might be good for somebody else, but that's no. I like games that treat actual talk about actual weapons and actual penetration values. So you're learning shit as you go along. Whether you realize it, you're learning real life nomenclature as you go along. But I'm one of those people that likes to learn a game as you play it. Maybe a lot of people aren't that way, but I certainly am. Okay, I'm not even going to try to put his neck up here. I'm sure it's got to be adjusted. Any game that has less detail than Sea Creek 4 just isn't for me. Warlord Games, World War II naval game being played. I bet it's just as vague as bland. Yep. Yeah. Oh, it's a German battle cruiser. They're all the same. Or whatever. No. Nope, that's not geared for me. Okay. Well, that's half the cruise. Maybe one of these days we'll sit down and paint some figures. I just haven't done it because I don't want to make a mess here. So here's half of the crew members. Warlord Games. Is that the one that has the ships that come on a flip-flop? I heard somebody say that one time, and after I was done spitting up and cleaning and clean whatever the hell I was drinking. Based on a flip-flop. Okay. So let's make sure that we've got this correct. This one can have these two heads, and we've used both of them switched out. We're going to start with the officer. Okay, the officer, we've done them with him, we've done them with him. So let's do the officer with this head now, because they're all totally interchangeable. They're based on a resin water base, I think. Yeah, looks like ass. It's not for me. Not my thing. I'm sure some people like them. It's distracting. The other thing that's distracting is the name that's embossed on the side of it. You know, I don't mind the name of it being on there. I don't like that it says, Furutaka class or whatever. Like, okay, well, tell me which one is. Is it Kako or is it Furutaka? But again, I get it. It's an introductory type of game. It's just not geared for me. And when somebody says, hey, why don't you play the Warlord game, the Warlord basic game, or why don't you play Bolt Action or something like that? It's like me telling somebody, hey, I want to watch some TV, and me suggesting, why don't you watch Sesame Street? Because I'm not a fucking child. And it's not, I get somebody has to start somewhere, but that's just not geared for me. You saw that you did the Scharnhorst was 1939, so it doesn't have the Atlantic bow? Morons. I don't believe the Scharnhorst. I don't think the Scharnhorst went into action with the Atlantic bow. I think it was already switched out by the time that the war started. I could be wrong. Might just be a 39 configuration, but no. Well, if that's true, that just means they don't know what they're doing. It's just a product for them. But that's what it is. If somebody says, Tony, oh, you're really into World War II, you should play Bolt Action. Oh. Nordic, you're really into television? You should watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You played MNTG. Okay, I gotta figure what the hell that is. MNTG. I don't know what that is, but I felt it took too long, like Sea Creek 4. Yeah, my only gripe about Sea Creek is the game can drag trying to calculate stuff that never lands on target. For instance, I don't think most people have a problem with, let me just use these two as an example because they're sitting out here. I don't think a lot of people, obviously not at this range, but let's say they're, at a far range. It's a problem when you try to figure out your hit chance of one thing versus another. It takes a long time to figure out, and you roll and you miss. That's wasted. That's wasted time. But once you get a hit, and it takes a long time to figure out, all right, wait, does it penetrate? All right, let's figure out. Okay, yeah, it penetrated. All right, roll to see what it does. When you have the slow motion part, they have a video game that's called, I've never played it, I think it's called Sniper or something like that. And basically the game is, I think, at normal speed until you get a bullet hit on somebody. And then it goes really slow and it shows the organs that it goes through and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like that T-34 movie. Because it's interesting, the interactions that can happen, at least to me, and many people that I've played with, because you're still getting some enjoyment out of it. But just sitting around and waiting and try to figure out some number and then you miss it is kind of a waste of time. I've mentioned it before, but there's a set of rules called Fire on the Waters, and it's actually in free war games or whatever. And I played it a couple times, and it had a unique system. Did I finally find this? I think I was looking for this die roller. I never did. They had a unique system of how to hammer the hits. And I actually created a device to speed it up using their idea. Unfortunately, it's not a finished set of rules. He doesn't have the ship data done, which that's the fun part, if you ask me. I have it here somewhere, and I don't know exactly where it is. But I have one of these things that has compartments. It's here somewhere. When I move things around, I found it again. I'll just use one of these as an example. This is actually the one from my World War One rule, my World War II rules. Okay, this is little counters for it. But it was basically, and it was a smaller thing that I kind of needed a shortcut on the shortcut. And let's say it's actually about this size of what it is. And there's like a big compartment for a big die, and then a die here, a die there, 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 a die there. And each one's a different color. So what you do is you just shake the thing up and you just put it down, and this one determines if the round is close. So you look at this and you go, oh, it's not close? Okay, move on to the next ship. So you cut a lot of the crap off. Like if you're gonna miss big, the ship's gone really quick. And then you're like, oh, that's close, let's figure it out. Yeah, that hits, okay. All right, does it, where does it hit on it? This one tells you maybe where it hits on it. And then this one tells you, does it penetrate? This one tells you whether it floods, whether it creates a fire, that kind of stuff. And you just read them that way. But if you never get past the first one, you don't do any other ones. And it was actually a really interesting way that they handled it. They just didn't put it in a box. I played it a couple times and I'm like, this is pretty handy if you just shake the whole thing. And now it kind of sucks because whether there's might be like a magazine explosion, but then you really didn't even get a hit to begin with. So, but I still have this little, it was a little Plano box that worked well, and it's here somewhere. And I played it a couple times with like Battle River Platte or something like that, and it worked pretty well. It's just, at that point I wasn't into it. Like even Mitch played it. So this was probably around 2000 and 11 or something like that when I played it. And it worked pretty well. The guys had some interesting ways of looking at it, and where you could, not only could you take damage, but you could take fires and flooding. So you could like, and it had like a schematic of the side view of every ship, so you could literally see, oh, okay, this compartment's flooded, which is going to cause not being able to get the ammunition to the gun. You physically saw what it did, but he only had a small percentage of the ships done, and which I've got the data to be able to complete all the other ships, but you know, I'm already employed, so you know, CBZ Secret Force probably better serve a smaller engagement than all the die rolling and such. Speaking of River Plate, I want to find a good Graf Spee in 700. Smaller scenarios, same with Harpoon. Only good with a few ships. My group tried multiple large ship scenarios. It was difficult at best. Harpoon just focuses on the wrong stuff I find interesting. It's too much electronics and shit like that. And I know it's important for modern, but Command and Sea, which is also done by Larry Bond, same thing. He's got all these charts about the weather and all this stuff. And when it comes down to armor, there's horizontal and vertical. That's it. I'm like, the ship has like, you can find armor values for like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 different locations on the ship, and now you're only letting me use 2. Like, that's not for me. You know, it just focuses on the wrong shit. You know, I do have, and I haven't gotten off my ass and figured out how to play the game because I'm really good at that. As I get older, I'm less likely to do it. Is it this one? Yeah. Oh, no, this is the scenario book for it. Yeah, this is the World War II. This is the Larry Bonds thing. I think this is Larry Bond. Command at Sea. These scenario books, this is one of the first ones for the Mediterranean, are excellent. But they don't have the kind of, they don't focus on the shit that I'm interested in. I mean, it's not that I'm not interested in the weather, but if you're going to give me a bunch of weather and stuff and you're going to take my armor values away, I'm not interested in that. Here's the scenario book for the game I was talking about. It's called Shipwreck. And I have some modern ships in 1/6000 scale that I've painted. I just haven't gotten around to freaking reading this. I think this is for the Falklands. Yeah, I think this is I don't know what the heck this is. Maybe this is a Red Storm Rising type of thing. It's supposedly a quick to play game. I don't know. I just wanted to paint some modern ships. But I haven't gotten around to figure out how to play Shipwreck. I don't want to bad enough. You know? Fortunately, my interest in World War II is Atlantic, North Sea, Baltic, and Med. So the battles are not overly huge. Yep, that's my areas I'm interested in. Your brother and I play. What do you think about it? You like it? Teach me how to play. Have you seen my navies? Oh, I gotta show them to you now. I'm proud of these guys. I think I can find them. Wait, are they down here? No. Are they here? This might be. I got everything put away. No, this is too big. They're in a container that's magnetic. So, I don't know if I can get to it. Oh, is this thing? Yep, these cute little bastards are right in here. Cute little bastards. Yeah, just wait till you see them. I don't have any World War I, World War II ships. I sold them all. Sorry. They didn't look very good when I did them. I think I kept a few. I mean, like 2. If I got into ships again, I'd do this scale. Because it's more in line with the actual combat. Here's my Chinese and Japanese Navy, modern. Or, you know, not the whole damn Navy, but enough for some scenarios. And they're on popsicle sticks. 'Cause, 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 'cause Here's the Japanese, and then the bad guys. 1/6000. Ships in a tin. That's right. 10 ships. Yeah. Yeah. That's a strange sound. They're actually pretty well detailed. And they're actually painted the same way I paint all my other stuff now with the layering and shit. I did these a couple years ago, so let's see if I can put them somewhere it's not moving. See if I can do these birds justice. Let's get the magnifier. I'm really proud of the job I did on these things. I just think that the game's probably not gonna. I love painting the little helicopter pad. A Tago. Oh. Here's the helicopter carrier. These are from Shapeways. There you go. There you can see that it's layered, how I painted it. These are a blast to do, actually. So I enjoyed doing them even if I never played a game. These are all 3D printed. And then I also have, what's the third nation I have? Taiwan. Oh, you said Taiwan's a nation. You have to apologize, not this guy. Oh man. So yeah, I just figured, okay, this is a good scenarios. I was thinking that you could, you're fighting over those damn islands that they created out of just pumping sand out. Anyhow, yeah, I got the shipwreck rules and the data for those aren't on there, but they have a Facebook group or something like that that has all the other ships. You can figure out information on them. The rules are kind of vague-ish anyways. You can figure stuff out if there was data that wasn't on there. I just haven't. The problem with modern is you see things on the table and you really can't see them. You have to pretend you don't see them, and you have to roll to see if you can react. And I guess it's not too unlike, rolling for pips and DBA or something like that, but. Figureheads, yeah, they're pretty cool. Age of Dreadnoughts, Victory at Sea, Shipwreck. You want to save time. Yeah. Outside of Jutland, oh, there's lots of stuff, man. There's lots of raids that the Germans did that got intercepted or didn't get intercepted. And I'm not talking about Dogger Bank that's completely one-sided. Or the Falkland Islands that's also completely one-sided. But there's a lot of what-if stuff. Yeah, Black Sea. Man, the Goeben and the Breslau that got transferred down there went on a lot of sorties against the Russian ships. A lot. So there's a lot of what-if stuff, which is what I end up doing anyways with my World War II combats, is a lot of what-ifs. So like these guys went to sea, these other ones went to sea, and they didn't encounter each other. Well, in this game, they do. There you go. You don't even have to make up what ships are there. The information's what could have happened. So, historical what-ifs. There's a lot of engagements in the Spanish Civil War. Believe it or not. Not sure that's many people's thing, but it is something else that's gameable. I really like the German. I really like the German battle cruisers of World War One. That Seydlitz is freaking badass looking ship. That's one of my favorite looking ships. Well, this guy's head's like falling off of his shoulders. The only thing I don't like about figurehead is a lot of the ships force you, small ships, force you to build the waves on them. And I do like them on a base. I don't necessarily want to paint the waves. Now, there's this one guy that I know that does an excellent job with the waves on the figurehead ships. But it's just not something I really want to spend a lot of time on. But okay, so there we did a different head. Don't fall down, you slacking Soviet. To the gulag with you. You say 148 scale planes, that's like 28 millimeter figures to me. I ain't doing that scale. All right, so we did this guy's head for the commander. So we're going to use one of these yelling bastards' head. See, this guy is normally, this is a guy that's pushing a shell in. We've done both. So we're going to do a yelling guy pushing the shell in. Figurehead, doesn't the last square? Oh, last square is not around anymore. Noble Knight may carry some of their stuff. But they're pretty inexpensive. I actually have, and I can't find it right now, okay? I actually have a 1/6000 version. I got the British battle cruiser set for World War II. So I have Hood, Repulse, and Renown. They're unpainted in 1/6000 scale. I have them somewhere. I'm not going to go looking for them. I won't find them. I haven't done anything with them. And they're really cute. And by cute, I mean that's a good thing. I like Repulse. Well, I like Renown because Renown was in a lot of battles that I particularly like to do. I had all three of them in 1/2400 scale. Repulse is the best looking one, in my opinion. She just looks awesome. It's a beautiful ship. Beautiful ship, because she didn't get converted all the way with that conning tower that has no armor on it. But her 15-inch guns weren't raised, didn't have enough, what do you call it, windage as Renown, so her range is pretty poor. She could still almost shoot to the horizon, but Renown was one of the most useful ships I ever had in my collection, because she was everywhere. Yeah, I did a lot of Mediterranean stuff, so that's Cunningham's, not Cunningham, that's, Somerville's command ship, Force H. And yeah, I do have them 1/6000 scale. Should model up a flag bearer for one of your Soviet guns. I have 3 or 4 flag bearers. These guys are busy, man. We need some rate of fire. Need some rough. I need to paint one gun crew. Get started with one gun crew. I'm just really hesitant to start painting again because I'm kind of in limbo here with the house situation. So the interesting thing about Noble Knight is in, are they in Madison, Wisconsin? I think they're in Madison, Wisconsin. The same town that the last square used to be in. So I think it's highly suspect. There's some kind of carryover or whatever between the two. But last square used to carry Roundway. They were the importer of Roundway in the States. And they came to, the last Historicon they came to was in 2010 or 2011 at King of Prussia. It was a King of Prussia 2 years, 2010 and 2011, and they were there, and then they stopped trading or whatever shortly thereafter. Okay, this guy is here. So we're not going to put him with this figure. We're going to put him with this figure. We're going to put that helmet, that guy here. And of course, every single one of these guys is going to be on a penny. They'll be on the penny before they get painted. And they'll have a name. They'll have a last name anyways. That's how you tell them apart. Last square also had Hallmark. Yeah, I believe the figurehead ships were a side part of Hallmark, if I remember correctly. That's who I got them from. I ended up getting them from the last square. And then the guys in Australia had them. Or maybe they still do. Frick. It's the guys used to be Chariot. Magister Militum. Magister Militum used to have the I think the rights to figurehead. And I'm not sure who has them now. And the problem with Magister Militum is their website loads up slow as shit. Or it does the last time I went up there. It's just horrendously bad. They go out of business this month? Oh, shit. Somebody picking them up? These old dudes, man, they want to retire. Their family's like, I don't want to take over your business. You were poor the whole time. we were just getting by every day. You remember that? Ah, Snapdragon. Yeah, it's round. Let's see. This is probably too powerful to find it. The floor is clear. It's just a matter of finding it. All right, I need to find my readers that are minimum strength. Let's see. There he is. The advantage of having a clear floor and wood that's tile. It's tile looking, it's wood looking tile. Yeah, there you go. Okay, the price of these ships are absurdly cheap, yeah. And they look good on the tabletop. Yeah, I had the GHQ battleships for they were $6 a piece, and they just got up. So what ended up happening is, I I ended up selling all my 1/2400 scale and actually turned a profit. Not a big one, but I didn't lose money selling them, even though they were painted. And because by the time I sold them, they were going for 3 times more than what I paid for them. So I was able to get my money back out of it. They just didn't look good by the standards of the day. And they were all painted before the internet, before Al Gore invented the internet. And so some stuff you just had to wing. On the big ships, the separate base that has the waves is optional. Destroyers and smaller, the waves are built on them. And that's really the only thing I don't like about it. Oh, I got one more guy to do this. This clown. This commie clown. Under $9 to get Hood, Repulsor, Renown in the same pack. Yeah, they look good too. I got that pack somewhere. I actually got the Black Sea Fleet from World War I set. So I got all the Russian ships that were in the Black Sea and Goeben and Breslau. And the Turkish ships too, which are, some of them are ex-German ships. Like really, really old ironclad type things. They're very cute. And I think at the time I was like, let me get these British battle cruisers and just see what they look like. And I was pretty impressed. You could tell they look like what they're supposed to look like. I mean, they don't have GHQ detail. They're not as crisp, but that's just the style they're done in. I don't think that they're poorly done. They're just done kind of in a softer style. They look better than the 1/3000 scale stuff that I've seen before from Davco, or I think Davco's the one. That stuff was just all soft detail. Once played with them, really loved how the distances look better even though they're shorter table distance. Yeah. Yeah, I would just play regular Sea Creek range and just use them. The Sea Creek range didn't change from 4 to 5, and the standard range is 4 inches to a nautical mile. So, yeah. So you got something like, 30,000 yards. 30,000 yards is 60 inches. So visibility is 60 inches, generally, or the curvature of the earth. There's exceptions to it, but that's kind of an easy rule to remember. If you're shooting more than 60 inches, even if it's a clear day, you're going past the curvature of the earth. You can't see anybody. Yeah, I think they look pretty good. If I had to do it again, I would definitely do 1/6000. First of all, everything's available. Okay? The problem is you got all your eggs in one basket, so if they stop making those things, you're kind of up a creek. But they make some things, they make some pieces in Shapeways. Shapeways make some interesting stuff. They make, one of the things I really like that they did, and I never got around to buying them for my moderns, is they make, and this is like for scenarios, they make oil rigs. They make oil rigs. And I'm going to have to send you some of the pictures that Corbett painted on Facebook. He used to paint them from commission. He's a Canadian guy who does a superb job with them, um, and um, and they're just beautiful. But he did all the stuff on commission, almost like he wasn't going to play with them or whatever. But he did a really good job, and he did some really interesting thing in that, like he's painting like Italian battleships, right? So he's painting Vittorio Veneto, Littorio, and the one that didn't do anything other than get hit by a glider bomb, German glider bomb, the Roma. And he painted all three of them different so that they look different from each other. Because if you look at stuff, sometimes they have a wooden deck, sometimes it's painted over, sometimes. So he made all three of them different, and it's kind of cool the way he did it. And I'll have to send you some of the pictures that I'm sure are there somewhere. I'll try to do that tomorrow for inspiration. But he painted the water and everything and did a really good job with the water. I think he used Nuln Oil. I think he did like a base blue, did Nuln Oil, and then highlighted it. It looks really, really good. Yep. No, they're really cute. Sorry, that is a thing. You know. All right. Here's the commander. We've used this yelling guy, we've used this yelling guy, and we use this guy. So now it's this guy that goes there. And that way each figure has a different variation, right? That's the pointing yelling guy. That with a cap, pointing yelling guy with a hat, with a helmet. This is cap, not yelling. Perfect. Yep. There could be madness, but there's got to be method. I'll see if I can track down some of his stuff that he did. He did a really good job with it. But they weren't available when I started. Otherwise, I might have started in that scale. I had CNC, some Superior. There's a misnamed company. CNC, GHQ. A lot of them were CNC. GHQ was just getting into World War II ships when I started doing the ships. Okay, enthusiasm died with gastric discomfort all of a sudden. Seriously, though, I'm definitely going to grab some of these ships. I want to do World War II naval gaming. This is far better price than GHQ. They look better. They look better because they're far away from each other. They look more in scale with a ship. So it's the opposite of, what is it, Axis and Allies or something like that? I'm sure Warlord has condensed this shit too. That's just, you're not really getting a good representation. I don't think I will get into it again, only because I've done a lot of it. I've done a lot of World War II naval like a lot. Well, not DBA a lot, but I've done. It's the second most thing I've played. Of course, I haven't played it in decades, but I used to run the game, so it's not a difficult game to run. It just takes some time. They do sail ships. Well, if you're into that. You once tried to scratch build some Yugoslav and Croatian ships of modern Adriatic. They weren't great, but they were fun. I have, one of the ships that I have left is a Yugoslavian destroyer that I believe was called the Dubrovnik. And the Italians took it over and renamed her Premuda. And I have the Panzerschiff model, which Panzerschiff was not very good. but it's painted well. I'm not going to go look for it. I kept that one. I kept the Bermuda. You know, people say, oh, I'll just do Panzer ships because they're really cheap. Yeah, well, they suck too. Some of their ships don't, but many of their ships suck. But with the figurehead ships, they don't suck, and they're inexpensive. So yeah, I like 6,000 scale because I think they represent. I think they represent the situation you're playing on the tabletop the most accurate scale wise. So. Okay, this is the guy with the shell. We've done him with the original one. We just did the guy yelling with the cap, so we're going to do the one with the helmet yelling, pushing the shell in. I have a feeling the crew members for the crash booms are the same as these guys, which means I'm not going to bother to build them until I absolutely have to have them. Because, I don't know if you saw my artillery park, that's all not going to get used at the same time. That's just for variety. Oh. This light blocking my sign? There we go. Well, I'm going to stop when I build the next guy, and then we'll have all the crew members from this first set of the 45mm guys done. I should have done the arms first. Dumas. Napoleonic ships. I never got into that. I mean, I played wooden ships in Iron Man, but I even watched Master and Commander, and I'm like, meh, it's just not my period. They all pretty much look the same to style-wise. You can't look at it and go, oh, that's a county-class heavy cruiser. That's a such and such. They all kind of look the same. I do not think Figurehead has their own site. One thing I hate about wooden ships and Iron Man is I hated playing in the U.S. Like, it's not even a real nation. It's just a bunch of freaking rebels at that point. You know, their biggest ship's a 44 gunner. It's a badass ship, but it's still only a 44 gunner. So what's that leave? With the troop quality issues, it's basically French versus British. Otherwise, it's too skewed. You know, my people ain't worth a shit once they got a French king. Everything just went to shit. You know, too much time siestaing. I don't care how many guns those Spanish ships had. They couldn't hit the broadside of the barn if they were inside the barn. Where's the head? Oh, I never took it off. There's that new set of rules that just came out. I want to say this year. Oh, what's it called? It's for sailing ships. And the guy that made the rules, I believe he's Scottish, is a, how can I put this? He is a stellar painter named Barry Hilton. The stuff that he posts is just mouth-watering, extreme salivation. It's just unbelievable. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And it's called Bad War, something like that. I forget. It has a weird name of a set of rules, but that looks interesting. But I just, I'm willing to play anything. I just don't want to learn the rules and be the point man on a new set of rules. I'm saving that for this game. That's all I got left in me. Yeah, Barry Hilton stuff. He paints like a freaking wet dream. It's unbelievable. And the stuff, his scenario, his sceneries, and he writes the names of the freaking ships underneath there. It's just incredible. It is just incredible. Mad War. Okay. When I say Bad War, it's close. I got the same number of letters. Yeah, it's incredible, his stuff. He's really, 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 really talented. And I wouldn't mind doing stuff in the 1500s. And it can be, because the stuff that he did one thing with like the Portuguese and like the 1600s over there in the Far East Asia station. And it's just like with freaking junks and stuff. And I'm like, holy crap, that looks awesome. Yeah, he's one of the best painters out there, period. End of story. He's one of those paint. I really like befriending people that I can get ideas from. Because I'm not like, oh, I'm never going to paint like that. I'm like, all right, we're going to kick my shit up a notch. Because you can see it's just a trick. It's just a matter of doing stuff. I just don't do any ships and stuff like that. But yeah, he's an incredible painter. And he spends a lot of time on like his reports and stuff like that. Stuff that I just don't have the patience for. I have the patience for doing this. I have the patience to paint things slowly. I don't have the patience to put things on a blogger or what's the other one? I was going to say Squarespace, but that's not it. a WordPress site that people may or may not see. I basically post things on Facebook and that's it. It's because it's easy for me to post. Nothing like putting a lot of effort into something and nobody sees it. You don't know if anybody sees it or comments on it. It's like, you know. Yeah, have you played that Mad War? Skylab? Oh, we put a little too much there. That's why it's nice to have something I'm cutting on that's absorbent. I played Wooden Ships and Iron Man probably a half dozen times and enjoyed every game of it. I think it's a good game. I'm a fan of Avalon Hill games. I don't like them all, but as long as it's not 1830, God, I hated that game. Saw Hilton's new website and store. May get Mad War next year. Yeah. I think he's got like some instructional stuff online, but he has a really heavy Scottish accent. So I gotta listen to him with subtitles. I'm not used to hearing, anybody that sounds more Scottish than Craig Ferguson. I can't, I don't know what the hell they're saying. I'm just not exposed to that. Mad for War? I think it's Mad for War. Yeah. Okay, so here's all these commie clowns over here drawing, and they're extremely flimsy right now, but we're going to put them all in pennies before we do anything with them. And we'll probably pick a few to paint. We did finish the SU-76s the other day. I don't know why the guns weren't glued down. I have no idea what my thought process was on that. But these are also done. I have just a metric ton of shit to finish. But so I don't really want to get all the airbrushing stuff out and then have to put it all away. So I got to build this stuff anyways. So that's just what I've been doing. So probably the next thing I'll do is I'll put these crew members on pennies. But I think I'm done for tonight. But anyhow, I appreciate you guys. Barry Hilton, that's behind League of Augsburg. Yes. Yeah, he's an incredible painter. Incredible painter. I put mine on popsicle sticks and I put little magnets on them. So they're stuck down, I magnetize everything because if I got to travel with them, But my interest in traveling to other people's houses, to conventions with my stuff, is pretty much gone out the window. I'm not going to bring my stuff, and I'm not going to go through all the effort of painting stuff, taking it somewhere else, transporting, setting everything up. Nah, it's like if we're going to game, we'll game here or the next place I get or something like that. I don't want to do all the heavy lifting literally. And some of it's got to be convenient for me if I'm doing all the heavy lifting. But again, some of this stuff, I don't really care if I game with it. It's just I'm doing it just to do it with the intention of gaming with it. So, yeah, I magnetize everything now. All my tanks are magnetized. All my figures are magnetized. So, just makes it easy. You got to go to another place, and it keeps them from bump into each other and destroying the stuff that you put effort into it. So, okay, folks.